Hello, everybody. I'm Kiyash Monsef, and I am very, very excited today to tell you about my new novel, Once There Was. Once There Was tells the story of a 15-year-old Iranian-American girl named Marjan, who inherits a veterinary clinic after her father's sudden death, and soon discovers that she was in fact secretly caring for creatures that should only exist in fairy tales. Creatures like griffins and unicorns and manticores. And now those creatures need Marjan's help. And the only clues that she has to guide her into this strange and dangerous new world are the stories that her father told her long ago when she was just a little girl. This is an adventure. It's full of mysteries. There's a coming of age story. And it's also about a young person trying to connect with her cultural heritage. Marjan has grown up with an Iranian father, but never really understood much about Iranian culture or her Iranian heritage. And so this is a story about her trying to find a connection to that now that her father's gone. And one of the ways that she does that is through the stories that her father told her. There's an Iranian tradition in storytelling. And the Persian invocation to begin a story or a fairy tale, sort of the Iranian version of Once Upon a Time, sounds like this: Yeki bud, yeki nabud. And what that means is once was, once wasn't. And so that's how all the stories in this book begin. And it's also a theme that kind of appears in the story in other ways too. But I thought I would share with you one of those stories today. And it's actually the beginning of the book. The first chapter of the book is one of those stories. So I'm going to read that to you right now. Once was, once wasn't. A long time ago, in that forest that lies between the Alborz Mountains and the Caspian Sea, a girl went foraging for mushrooms. It had rained the day before. The ground was soft and damp, and the air smelled of loam and moss. It was a good day for mushrooms, and the girl had nearly filled her basket with lion's mane and hen of the woods when she heard a sound away off in the trees. It sounded like an animal crying out in pain. There were leopards in the forest, and jackals and brown bears, but this girl didn't like to think of any creature suffering. So she set out into the forest in the direction of the sound to see if she could help. A little ways off the path, in a clearing in the deep woods, she found the source of the cries. The unicorn was bleeding and scared, its leg caught in a hunter's snare. It was a huge beast and very wild. The girl had never seen such an animal before, and she knew at once that it was special. She also knew that as soon as the hunter returned to check on his snare, the unicorn would be no more. So she swallowed her fear and crept up on it, as gently and as carefully as she could. To calm it down, she offered it some of the mushrooms she'd picked. And when she felt it was safe to approach, the girl bent down and opened up the trap. The beast seemed to fill up the entire clearing with its long legs and its sharp, treacherous horn. The girl stood there frozen, too awed and frightened to move. The unicorn looked at its savior for a long time. Then it took a cautious step on its injured leg toward the girl, lowered its massive head, and plunged its horn into her chest, right above her heart. The girl fell to the ground, and as she did, a piece of the unicorn's horn broke off inside her. The unicorn watched her for another moment, then turned and loped off into the woods, favoring its wounded leg, and was not seen again for 100 years. The girl, bleeding and in shock, managed to gather enough strength to return to the village at the edge of the woods, where she lived. There she collapsed and was carried to her bed. She lay there for many days. At first, no one thought she would survive. But after a day, the bleeding stopped. And after 3 days, the pain began to subside. Slowly, the wound grew smaller and smaller, until all that remained was a crescent-shaped scar just above her heart, and a little piece of unicorn horn lodged between her ribs. Time passed, and the girl became a woman. She married and had children, and when they were born, some of them had crescent birthmarks above their hearts, too. And so did some of their children, and their children's children, and so on. It's said, though no one can be sure, that some of the girl's descendants are still alive today, and that a few of them still carry that mark on their chest, where the unicorn first touched her. And it's whispered that maybe, just maybe, there's still a little of the unicorn inside them. Once there was. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll check out the book.